أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Assalamu alaikum. Today we're going to talk about Ramadan and Taqwa. Welcome to the Iqra principle, experiencing the Quran in the an, the Arabic Quran in the now. As you all know, sometimes we keep repeating, but it's for the general public. This research method starts with the Arabic Quran, context and language. Our lexicographers, we take from their writings definitions of what we're talking about, and we gain insight through the Sahih Hadith, inshallah, and the knowledge left to us by our brethren who preceded us in faith. إخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان. But all of that after the Arabic Quran, context, and language. Today we're going to talk about Taqwa. We're going to define Taqwa. What is Taqwa? And of course, we know that it's awareness because we've done that before. And we know that it's the opposite of what? Taqwa is the opposite of udwan. So it's the opposite of aggression. And then we ask the question, can awareness and aggression ever meet? And of course, many of you know the answer to that. And the answer is a no. Aggression and taqwa never meet at once. When one comes, the other one disappears. Awareness is one of God's signs, the taqwa. Awareness is the garment which deviants want to tear off us. Awareness is our most valuable provision. And the aware are those who have attained the title, al-Muttaqeen or al-Muttaqoon. And they are a higher degree than those attaining awareness who are alladhina ittaqaw. And one of the things which we're going to recognize today, which is really beautiful, it's that even in the process of gaining awareness, we are special people. And that is something that when we read about al-Muttaqeen, and we say, inshallah, Allah considers us al-Muttaqeen, but maybe we're not. We're just alladhina taqaw right now. We're in the what? In the verbal state. And then we say, but maybe that's not so special. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed us in the Quran that being in the verbal state, being of alladhina taqaw who are in the process, is also very special. So that's what we're going to talk about today as well. And we will also realize that taqwa is embedded in how we were created and why we were created. Of course, we know those ayahs, but when we look at them from a different perspective, we gain much more information about what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to learn. So what is taqwa? Now, the common understanding, all of you know, what do people tell you taqwa is? Sometimes they call it fear. Sometimes they call it piety. Sometimes they call it a shield from God's anger. So that's the common interpretation of what taqwa is. Now, we learn about taqwa from what has reached us from our predecessors. أخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان. They told us about taqwa. We have this hadith between Umar ibn al-Khattab and Ubay bin Ka'b. Have you not walked a thorny path? Was the answer when Ubay bin Ka'b was asked about taqwa. He said, أَمَا سَلَكْتَ طَرِيقًا ذَا شَوْكٍ? Have you not walked a thorny path? And then Umar responded, Bala, yes, I have. He said, فَمَا عَمِلْتَ? What did you do? He said, شَمَّرْتُ وَاجْتَهَدْتُ. I held up my clothes, شَمَّرْتُ وَاجْتَهَدْتُ, meaning I did effort. I made a lot of effort not to step on the thorns. So that is شَمَّرْتُ وَاجْتَهَدْتُ. It's about what? About not stepping on the thorns. Taqwa is to be aware of not stepping on the thorns. And as we know from our previous meetings, We can call taqwa, actually, to be more precise, we can call it bewareness. It is actually beware, ittaqi, beware. But actually, what is that? It is being aware. So beware of the thorns. Now, this is what they said, talking to each other. This is very important. When we read hadith, often what happens when we read hadith, we find information that is a little bit different to the Quran. It is sometimes quite different to the Quran. And we think, oh, maybe this is like wrong. But actually, it's not. The hadith is often it is between two people who know the Quran by heart, who know everything in the Quran. They have actually been present when the Quran was being revealed. So they're not going to talk about Quran then, but they're going to discuss what they see in front of them as relates to their life, knowing what the Quran says. So that's why you will find when those two Sahaba were talking about taqwa, they did not mention Quran, did not mention udwan, did not mention the fact that taqwa and udwan come as opposite, because they knew it. They knew it. So they were just deriving examples from their daily lives. So in our daily life, what is taqwa? Taqwa is this and taqwa is that. Ali ibn Abi Talib, what did he say, radiallahu anhu? He said, التقوى الخوف من الجليل والعمل بالتنزيل والقناعة بالقليل والاستعداد ليوم الرحيل. It is to be in awe of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in working with what Allah has revealed, in accepting what is little in life, and being ready for the day of departure, Yawm al-Rahil. So that is taqwa according to him, based on what? On knowing that taqwa is the opposite of udwan. But what happened is that when we came and found their words about taqwa, we took their words to be the definition. Well, their words are based on the definition. They're not the definition. They're the elaborations on the definition. You have here some very famous scholars also who spoke about taqwa. Abu Darda, he's actually one of the Sahaba. He says, تمام التقوى أن يتقي الله العبد حتى يتقيه من مثقال ذرة. That the best of taqwa or the fulfillment of taqwa is that a abd, a worshipper, would have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the level of an atom's weight. حتى يتقيه مثقال ذرة. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, much later in 691 after Hijrah, he said, it is al-amal bi ta'atillah imanan wa ihtisaban, to do what Allah has said with faith and accounting for your deeds. So we have Ibn Rajab rahimahullah, also later, 736 to 795, when he lived, he says, أصل التقوى أن يجعل العبد بينه وبين ما يخافه ويحذره وقاية. That the taqwa is to keep a shield between you and between what you are afraid of doing, which is exactly that, which is awareness, so as not to fall into what you're not supposed to be doing. So these scholars and these Sahaba, they spoke of taqwa, but they were not actually giving you the definition. Why? Because the definition is in the Arabic language, which for us is the lexicon, because our Arabic is not that, we don't have Arabic anymore, we have Arabic. So the definition of taqwa is in the lexicons and in the Quran. But that they didn't need the lexicons. They were, predecessors to the lexicons. They knew the Arabic and they knew the Quran. So what they were talking about was elaborations. What we did now today is take the elaborations and consider them the definition. And that applies to so many of what is in Islam. We consider something to be the definition because the Sahaba said it or the Prophet peace upon him said it, but actually it is their elaboration on the Quran. The Quran has the definition and the Arabic tongue has the definition. Listen to this beautiful poem written by Abdullah ibn al-Mu'taz, who lived from 861 to 908, Common Era. He was quite close to Hijrah, 247 to 296. He wrote a few abiyat, a few verses about taqwa. Look how beautifully he explained it. What did he say? He said, خلي الذنوب صغيرها وكبيرها فهو التقى. Forsake all wrongs, small or great. That is awareness. واصنع كماش فوق أرض الشوك يحذر ما يرى. Be as one treading a thorn bed, wary of what he finds. لا تحقرن صغيرة إن الجبال من الحصى. Never despise a trifling, For what are the mountains but piles of gravel compacted through time? You should be, when we're talking about taqwa, it is about somebody walking upon a thorn bed, wary of what he finds, but not despising any small wrongdoing. That is taqwa. Don't despise one of your small wrongdoings. Because what is a mountain but compacted gravel, compacted triflings? So what would a small misdeed be but what? Part of the mountain of misdeeds. So that's a very beautiful poem about taqwa. So we're talking about those scholars who spoke about taqwa a long time ago. Even today, you have scientists speaking about something. Well, they're speaking about something. So you don't take their elaborations and consider it the definition. You have to go back to what? Back to their source. So focusing on conversation rather than a source of knowledge is not getting us close to the truth. The truth is in the Quran, in the haqq, qawluhu al-haqq, in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's words, because qawluhu al-haqq, his words are truth and justice. And we can never know what the early faithful knew, but we can focus on their main source of knowledge, which is the Quran. So taqwa awareness is from the root verb waqa, thrusting something away from something with another. Thrusting something away with something else. Waqa, yaqi. And we have the saying in Arabic, al-wiqayatu khayrun min al-ilaj, which means what? Prevention is better than cure. So by taqwa, you are actually preventing yourself from what? From udwan. And when we talk about aggression, we say udwan is aggression. Please refrain from thinking of udwan as an aggressive act per se, because there's a lot of aggression in what we do or say without actually seeming aggressive. Because when we say today, he is aggressive, she's aggressive, we have a certain picture in our mind of that person being aggressive. But if you think of aggression as just not having taqwa, meaning not being aware, then honestly, who can say in any single day, I have not been aggressive? It's a totally different way to look at it. So the Quran defines taqwa twice, in Surah Al-Ma'idah 5:2 and Surah Al-Mujadala 58:9, and it tells us that they are the opposite, that ithm and udwan are the opposite of bir and taqwa. And when we look up the meanings of those four words, we look up the meaning of bir, we found it to be the opposite. We did a whole talk about bir, if you remember. We found bir to be the opposite of ithm. And we found ourselves to be what? Athimin, because we are not doing the bir, which is what? To be doing something even before it's the time that it's needed. You are actually foretelling the need for something and going ahead and doing it, which is what you do with your parents. You are birran biwalidati. That's what Sayyidina Isa said. Birran biwalidayh. Bir is to know what your parents need even before they need it and to try and get it for them. So actually, the abrar are the forerunners, those who do something speedily and at the exact time it's needed because they were actually thinking about it. So the opposite of that is ithm, which is what? Hindrance. We spoke about that earlier. So today we're not talking about that, however. We're talking about taqwa and udwan. These are opposites, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran. And Allah said, ta'awanu ala al-birri wa taqwa. Be together, helping each other on what? On bir and on taqwa. And do not help each other and try to be united for ithm and udwan. So taqwa is so important, which is why we're talking about it today. Because what? Because of Ramadan. Because of Ramadan. So taqwa, think about it as the thrusting away of udwan. Taqwa is to thrust away udwan. So when we are trying to be people of taqwa, we look at ourselves and anything that we do it with taqwa. We do it with taqwa. So udwan is aggression versus taqwa, which is awareness. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not command us to be atqiya, in a way that we cannot even reach as humans. He tells us, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ, meaning you should be aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as you can. And why is that? Because it's talking about Allah here. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to us, we try our best, but we don't know what we can do and what we cannot do, which will be pleasing Him. But we're really, really trying our best to reach that degree of atqiya. So, of course, we know what would please Him, what doesn't please Him. But what I meant to say is that we cannot tell where we've reached. We keep trying. Whereas with people, you can tell where you've reached. When I say, for example, ittaqi this or ittaqi that, you are actually looking at the entity which you should have taqwa from, and you're keeping away from it. And at the same time, you are doing what is necessary there. But to do what is necessary, of which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking you, all He asks you is what? What you can do. All He asks you is what is within your capability. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. But He says also what? وَاسْمَعُوا وَأَطِيعُوا وَأَنفِقُوا. So you do what you can, as long as you are what? Listening, obeying, and spending. Listening, obeying, and spending. Spending of yourself, spending of your time, spending of your wealth, spending of your kindness, whatever goodness you have that you're spending, you should do it mastata'tum, as much as you possibly can. Okay, now, who knows what you can? Do you know what you can? Even you don't know what you can. Who knows what you can? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But even you don't know what you can. So what you do here is you try to press the limits. You try to go always ahead of yourself in taqwa, ahead of yourself, but only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what you can. So inshallah, on the Day of Judgment, He'll say to you, you have done what you can. And you might be able to say, I have done my best. Inshallah, we will be able to say that. I often ask myself, have I done my best? And honestly, I don't think I can ever say I have done my best. Hardly ever. Maybe sometimes, but hardly ever that I can, say I've done my best. There's always a feeling that I could have done more, and Allah knows what I can do. So Allah is going to hold you accountable for what? For what you can do. And you can always do what? Push the limits. Today you can walk that far, tomorrow you can walk a little bit more. So can aggression and awareness ever meet? Of course, the answer is what? No. Why? Because taqwa exists in sakan. It exists in sakina. It does not exist in confusion, in oppression, in problems. When you are in the middle of a problem and there's people there shouting at you, maybe fighting you, it will be very hard to maintain your taqwa. Taqwa is not there, but maybe you could bring it in. But it's very hard. Taqwa exists in sakan, in sakina. So actually, when there's aggression, taqwa is not there anymore. So always try, when you are in an atmosphere where there is confusion or there is corruption or there is aggression, that you will bring in the taqwa. Once you bring it in, aggression has to go away. It cannot stay. So we have the story of the two sons of Adam. And here we find that what did taqwa do? Taqwa caused one of them to be killed, but he maintained his taqwa. I'm not asking us to die for our taqwa, but we won't be in such a situation, inshallah. But even if we are, maybe we should. But inshallah, we'll never be in such a situation. But we could actually bite our lips in our taqwa. Bite your lip before you say that word. Bite your lip. Count to 10 before you say that word. Count to 10 before you do that act. So, inshallah, we can do that, and that would help us be of the Muttaqeen, inshallah, one day, Allahu A'lam. So the Muttaqeen are those who have earned the title. And as you notice from the Quran, several times, 3 times, Allah tells us that He loves the Muttaqeen. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَّقِينَ آلِ عِمْرَانَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَّقِينَ إِنَ التَّوْبَةِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَّقِينَ إِنَ التَّوْبَةِ again. So, if we want Allah to love us, let us try to be of al-muttaqeen. How about al-mu'tadeen? Oh, al-mu'tadeen is those whom Allah said about them, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ 3 times. Surah Al-Baqarah. إن الله لا يحب المعتدين. إن الله لا يحب المعتدين in Al-Ma'idah. إن الله لا يحب المعتدين in Al-A'raf. So Al-Mu'tadeen are those whom Allah لا يحب. Allah says that very clearly 3 times. إن الله لا يحبهم. So we do not want to be of the aggressors. We want to be of the Muttaqeen. God does not love the aggressors. Now, of course, we know that worship is a prescription for taqwa. Why do we worship? Why do we pray? Why do we fast? Why do we do those acts of worship? Worship is everything we do, not just the acts. Everything we do is worship. Even greeting each other with smiles and with love is part of our worship. But we're talking here about the acts of worship that were prescribed for us. كُتِبَ عَلَيْنَا. They were prescribed. They were what? Compiled upon us as duties. They were compiled upon us to gain taqwa. So they are the prescriptions for taqwa. You have in Surah Al-An'am, Surah 6, Ayah 51, that أَنذِرْ بِهِ, warn by it. Use or take it and warn by it. What is the it here? What is the bihi? It's the Quran. وَأَنذِرْ بِهِ الَّذِينَ يَخَافُونَ أَن يَحْشُرُوا إِلَى رَبِّهِمْ. أَنذِرْ بِهِ is the Quran. So you actually warn those who do not believe in the day of judgment using the Quran. أَنذِرْ بِهِ, you warn by it. So the Quran is something that would bring people to taqwa. So we should be reading the Quran, doing qira'ah of the Quran always, so that we could what? So that we could reach taqwa. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَّقُونَ. What about the sirat? Walking the sirat, trying to maintain our tread on this straightened path is, of course, a prescription for taqwa. هذا صراطي مستقيما. What? ذلك وصاكم به لعلكم تتقون. Stay on my sirat, تبعوه ولا تتبعوا السبل, and do not go into those other pathways. Why? لعلكم تتقون. Perchance you will be attaining taqwa. So the sirat, the Quran, now we have two ways of taqwa that will help us gain taqwa. What else? كتب عليكم الصيام, of course, كما كتب عليهم من قبلكم. So siyam is actually what is maybe the most prominent ibadah that will gain us taqwa. And of course, general ibadah, اعبدوا ربكم لعلكم تتقون. So that is all about ibadah. So our ibadah brings us taqwa. It's the way to gain taqwa. It's the prescription, the God-given prescription for taqwa. People might ask you, why do you fast? What would you answer? The real answer is to gain taqwa. Because our usual answer is, well, because we were commanded to fast, because it's a month where we sort of like remember the poor. It's a month where we come together as families and the whole ummah of Islam comes together. I mean, there are many answers for why do you fast? But the real answer should be to gain awareness. I fast to gain awareness. So what does gathering awareness or gathering taqwa do for us? First of all, it gives us Furqaan. What does gaining taqwa do? It gives you Furqaan. Furqaan is discerning. Discerning right from wrong, discerning good from bad, discerning to do this or not to do that. Choices. It gives you what? Vision. Vision regarding your choices. But the vision is what? In the now. In the now. Furqaan is ala wazn fa'lan, which is about something superlative and happening in the now. So your taqwa, when you have taqwa, inshallah, it will give you furqaan. It will give you discernment in the now of what to do in every single specific situation at that moment. Not yesterday, not tomorrow. Furqaan is in the an. Al-an means now. So your Furqaan gives you enlightenment, what to do in the now. What else does it give you? يُكَفِّرْ عَنْكُمْ سَيِّئَاتِكُمْ. It's also what does? What does it do? It covers our misdeeds. It helps us to cover our misdeeds. Allah will cover our misdeeds for us when we have taqwa. What else? Maghfirah. It gives us also what? Maghfirah. يغفر لكم الله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He forgives for you. وَاللَّهُ ذُو الْفَضْلِ الْعَظِيمِ. He is of the great bounty. But this is what taqwa offers you. Discernment, covering of misdeeds, and forgiveness. So who does not want taqwa? We all want taqwa. We all want to gather taqwa. Also, when we have taqwa, what happens? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promotes and enhances our taqwa for us. When we have taqwa and we're searching for taqwa and we're gaining taqwa, we find it increasing exponentially. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that He will increase it for us. Once we start on the route of taqwa, taqwa is promoted and enhanced for us. It's advanced for us. And of course, taqwa is the basis of every endeavor we do. Every endeavor we do, we should base it on taqwa. Twice Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about that. أَفَمَنْ أَسَّسَ بُنْيَانَهُ عَلَى تَقْوَى مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانٍ خَيْرٌ أَمْ مَنْ أَسَّسَ بُنْيَانَهُ عَلَى شَفَا جُرُفٍ هَارٍ. Are they the same? Those who would establish their foundations, edifice, whatever you're building it on taqwa min Allah and ridwan. You're building it upon taqwa, awareness from Allah. Everything is from Allah. And ridwan. Ridwan is what? Ridwan is His acceptance in the now. So also you're also rida and ridwan. Ridwan is the same like fa'lan. It's about rida in the now. So you're doing something, building it upon taqwa and ridwan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course it will be successful. Of course it will be successful. Taqwa, awareness, is one of God's signs. It is min ayatillah. And it is the best garment that we can ever have, shielding ourselves from adwan, of course, and beautifying ourselves. So the garment shields you and beautifies you. It does two things. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here says what? He says that the shaitan, what did the shaitan do? Ya Bani Adam, do not let the shaitan do what he did to your parents when he took them out of Jannah. What did he do? He did fitna. He tried them by fire. By what? By the desires. Mulkin la yabla. Shajarat al-khuld wa mulkin la yabla. He tried them by the desires of perpetual life and perpetual possession. These are the trials by fire in our everyday life, of course. So what did he do? He tried them by that. يَنْزِعُ عَنْهُمَا لِبَاسَهُمَا. To tear off their garment. To tear off their garment. Because he and his kind, what do they want to do? They want to do that. They want to tear off your garment. And they do that by trying you by fire. Usually the fire is a problem, a huge problem, a catastrophe. That's the biggest of fitan. And of course, the smallest of fitan, which we might think are small fitan, but they're not, are our own desires when they actually show us, lead us to something which we might weaken and desire. So do not let shaitan do that. Do not let any deviant do that. Tear off your garments. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, تَزَوَّدُوا فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ الزَّادِ تَقْوَى. The most important provision to gather is taqwa, as he said in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 197. So you've seen this before. We've spoken about this before. The 3 levels of garmenting. You remember that? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that He had given us 3 levels of garmenting. The first level is one that hides our vulnerability, our fallibility, which is our weaknesses. So that's our first garment. And then He sent us another garment, which is what? The garment of luxuries, called rishan in Arabic. So the first, libas yuwari sawatikum, the second is rishan, luxuries. And the third level is the garment of taqwa, the garment of awareness. That is best. That is of God's signs. That is of ayatillah, the garment of awareness. Perchance you may remember. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَذَّكَّرُونَ. Now let's look at those 3 levels. If I were to remove level 3, what would be the highest level? Level 2, which is what? Which is luxuries. That is why today we find luxuries are what everybody is seeking, because there's no more taqwa. And look at yourself. If you find yourself seeking luxuries, it means that your level 3 is not there anymore, or it is much weaker. Libas al-taqwa is the highest libas. The next one is الريش, and the next one is يواري سوآتكم. Rish, riches. Even in French, you say riche, meaning rich. And it's actually the same as the Arabic riche. Riche in Arabic is what you embellish yourself with, which is not really, it doesn't give you life or death. It's something which you embellish yourself. It's luxuries. We use it to mean feathers. Feathers. That's why I have this lady here with her feathers, her luxuries, but they're feathers. So we say rish in Arabic, we mean feathers. Rish al-tayr, that the tayr has rish. But in the Quran, rish means luxuries. So in the absence of awareness, gaining luxuries becomes our highest goal. Now, we spoke about the difference between الذين اتقوا and المتقين. الذين اتقوا are people like us who are in the process of gaining taqwa. Insha'Allah, we are of الذين اتقوا ya Rab, and may we be of المتقين who have gained the title. Is there a difference? Yes. Those who attained awareness are still in the motion, while المتقين have clenched it. They've clenched the title, and it will never leave them. But do they know that they've clenched it? No. They think they are of الذين اتقوا. Because in life, you are of الذين اتقوا all your life. Allah knows if you have gained the title of al-Muttaqeen. But if you have gained the title of al-Muttaqeen, you don't know it. You think of you're of الذين اتقوا. But you may have gained the title, but only God knows that you gained it. It's clenched. It will never leave you. The same thing of al-Mu'mineen. It will never leave you. What are the characteristics of al-Muttaqeen? Number one, لا يريدون علوا في الأرض ولا فسادا. They do not want prominence on earth, and neither do they want corruption. So these people who are al-Muttaqeen are not seeking prominence. They might become prominent. They might become prominent. Inshallah, they will. But they are not seeking it. لا يريدون. Remember the meaning we took last week, the meaning of yurid, rawad, al-rawd, being on the road. Remember? So they are not on the road. They are walking the road, but they're not on the road for for ulu, for prominence. They're not. They are walking the road for other things. Yuriduna islahan, yuriduna thawaban, yuriduna manfa'a. You know, their yurid is different, what they are on the road for. But they might get ulu, they might get prominence, but they do not seek it. And they do not seek fasad. So that's one of their characteristics. So try now if you want. You can try and see if that fits you. And then if that fits you, you could be maybe among al-Muttaqeen. So that's a good way to look at it. So the first thing they don't want, prominence or fasad. The second thing, آمن بالله واليوم الآخر والملائكة والكتاب والنبيين. Why are we saying those things in Surah Al-Baqarah? Because at the end of the surah, أولئك الذين صدقوا وأولئك هم المتقون. It is these who are the truthful, and it is these who are al-muttaqun, meaning they have gained the title. So let's look at their characteristics. من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر, believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the last day, والملائكة and the custodian angels, والكتاب and the compilation, and the nabiyyin and the prophets, وآتى المال على حبه, and he has advanced. You know, when we say آتى الزكاة, يؤتون الزكاة, يؤتون الزكاة is not somebody giving zakah. When we say I'm giving zakah, يؤتي الزكاة is advancing zakah. So you are actually not just giving, you are advancing towards it. Ata, to come. So you are coming with zakah, meaning you are actually approaching the person who needs it with zakah. So, ata al-mala ala hubbihi, he has given or he has approached, advanced. Mal is usually what? Your wealth. Ala hubbihi, despite loving it, despite needing maybe the money or wanting the money, you are giving it to others. That's another one of the characteristics of al-Muttaqeen. What about وَفِي الرِّقَابِ? وَفِي الرِّقَابِ, that you are actually giving that money to whom? To the qurba, those who are close to you, al-yatama, those who are orphans, al-masakin, those who are, what's the maskeen? Remember we spoke about that once? The maskeen is the person who is in sakan, meaning he's incapacitated. He is not active. He is incapacitated. Ibn Sabil are the refugees, we said, right? Because today they're the refugees. Before they used to be the travelers who would be traveling and then be cut off from their means. So they could be rich, but they're, let's say, in the middle of nowhere and they're cut off. That's Ibn Sabil, the son of the open road. Ibn Sabil, the son of the open road. Today, it's the refugees. وَفِي الرِّقَابِ, in the riqab. Al-raqba is the what? The neck. So when you say وَفِي الرِّقَابِ, it used to mean those whom you have to free from the yokes of slavery. But today it means those whom you have to free from the yokes of debt. Debt is a terrible yoke. وَأَقَامَ الصَّلَاةِ, and those who established what? Communion, prayer. وَآتَ الزَّكَاةِ, those who advance towards zakah, purifying themselves and their wealth with giving. وَالْمُوفُونَ بِعَهْدٍ إِذَا عَاهَدُوا, when they promise or they say they will do something, they do it. They never renege on their vows or their promises. وَالصَّابِرِينَ فِي الْبَأْسَاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ وَحِينَ الْبَأْسِ, and those who are patiently persevering in all kinds of difficulties. So if you find that these are applicable to you, then you can, inshallah, rest assured that you are of al-Muttaqeen bi-iznillah. And then also another one here, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا, see the difference now? Now this is not al-Muttaqeen, it is الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا. This is us, inshallah. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا إِذَا مَسَّهُمْ طَائِفٌ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ تَذَكَّرُوا فَإِذَا هُمْ مُبْصِرُونَ, meaning that those who have awareness, when something negative hits them, it's called here طائف من الشيطان, something of the deviant hits them, تذكروا, they are immediately what? They are remembering. They are remembering who they are. They're remembering their Lord. They're remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're remembering what they should do as right versus wrong. فَإِذَا هُمْ مُبْصِرُونَ, once they remember, they are what? Enlightened. They see the truth. These are الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا. Does this fit us? Inshallah, this should fit us. Whenever we are touched by some kind of negativity, usually aggression maybe, تذكروا. So inshallah, let us be amongst الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا, if not al-Muttaqeen. More characteristics of the Muttaqeen in Surah 51, Ayah 19, Surah 50, Ayah 35, Surah 3, Ayah 102, and Surah 7, Ayah 156. Here, it's also a little bit difficult. You'll find that what? They were always muhsineen. They were always of those who gave everything with ihsan. Ihsan is the most beautiful of acts. It's not the beautiful act, it's the most beautiful of acts. And they did not sleep much at night. This I find very difficult, to keep a lifetime of not sleeping much at night. Actually, Hajj is also about resting. It's not just about sleeping. So, and during the what? In dawn, they were yastaghfirun. Inshallah, this is us. Inshallah, we could be istighfar in dawn. وَفِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقًّا لِلسَّائِلِ وَالْمَحْرُومِ, and in their wealth is a right for that who asked, the person who asked, and the person who just did not ask. Also, مَنْ خَشِيَ الرَّحْمَنَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَجَاءَ بِقَلْبٍ مُنِيبٍ, he who has awe of Allah in the ghaib, in the unseen, and approaches or comes with a heart that is yearning for home. Munib is, as we said before, nawaba, it's the root verb, someone who yearns for his home. And when we approach Allah with qalb munib, we are approaching him yearning for our home with him, not our home in this life. Inshallah, let us be among them. Now, Allahu waliyul muttaqeen. Allah is the protector, the guardian of al-muttaqeen, of the aware. He is also waliyul mu'mineen. Notice he is the wali of whom? Of those who have gained the title of faithful and trusting, or of al-Muttaqeen. But there is more. There is more, alhamdulillah. Now, there is VIP treatment for those who had earned the title. We will pray, inshallah, may we be among those who earn the title, because there is VIP treatment for those who have earned the title. It's not just normal, everyday. It's not just alladhina taqaw. Alladhina taqaw are great, but al-muttaqeen are greater. This is amazing. Look at how many ayahs in the Quran tell you where the muttaqeen are. 6 ayahs in the Quran tell you where the muttaqeen are on the day of judgment. I really do not believe they will be judged. As far as my research shows, wallahu a'lam, Allahu a'lam, that al-muttaqeen have actually jumped that part which everybody else has to go through. Allahu a'lam. Why? Because we notice that, look here in Surah Maryam, ayah 19, Surah 19, ayah 72. وَإِن مِّنكُمْ إِلَّا وَارِدُهَا. There is not one of you, but shall be going through it. كَانَ عَلَى رَبِّكَ حَتْمًا مَقْضِيًّا. وَارِدُهَا. This is the area which is really dangerous on the day of judgment. ثُمَّ نُنَجِّي الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will save those who taqaw, which is what? The verbal state, which is us, as far as we can see ourselves right now. We will all be in the wurud of Jahannam, and we will not be there, but we shall pass by it, passing by Jahannam. Okay? كَانَ عَلَى رَبِّكَ حَتْمًا مَقْضِيًّا ثُمَّ نُنَجِّي الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا. Then we shall save those who ittaqaw. Ittaqaw is the verbal state. Verbs, which is us, inshallah, that we are of alladhina taqaw. But may we be of alladhina, of al-muttaqeen, may we be, because look, they shall see some kind of, let's call it suspense. Let's call it suspense. They will go through a period of suspense on the day of judgment. Who? Alladhina taqaw. And then the dhalimeen, the wrongdoers, shall be brought into it. Okay. Let's look at another ayah, Surah Az-Zumar, Surah 39, ayah 61. On the day of judgment, you see those alladhina kadhabu ala Allah, you see those who have belied Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their faces are muswadda, they are in a dire state, and it shows on their faces. Alaysa fi jahannama mathwa lil mutakabbirin, those who had been arrogant in life, their residence is Jahannam. وَيُنَجِّي اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا. Again, the same exact thing. يُنَجِّي اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا. Allah saves those who are in the verbal state of taqwa, like us. Insha'Allah, insha'Allah, وَالَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا Ya Rabb. Why does He save them? بِمَفَازَتِهِمْ. By what they have already won. They have won their good deeds. They have won what they've done. Allah will save them. لَا يَمَسُّهُمُ السُّوءُ. They will not be touched by anything which is bad. So, but they will go through that period of suspense. However, al-muttaqeen are not there. This is what I'm trying to I really thought about this and researched it, because everybody thinks that alladhina taqaw and al-muttaqeen are the same people. They're not. There are people who are in the verbal state, people who are in the noun state. They've already earned it. It's a noun. Al-muttaqeen, with a definite article, the. So look at al-muttaqeen in the Quran. You will not find them in anywhere that is related to Jahannam, or to suspense, or to not knowing where they're going, or to even seeing Jahannam. You will not see any of that. You will see al-muttaqeen fi jannatin wa uyun, in the jannat and in the springs and the gardens, fi maqamin ameen. Fi maqamin ameen, in the most, what's the maqam ameen? The most safe place. Maqam is also what? Their level. Their level, they have reached the maqam of aman. The highest maqam is in al-muttaqeen. Jannatin wa na'im, jannatin wa ayun, jannatin wa nahar, dhilalin wa ayun. So all those 6 show you where they are. May we be among them, Ya Rab. May we think we're not because of Inshallah, being humble, may we be humble and think we're not among them, but may we be among them. Are we desiring prominence here? I think we are. This is a little bit naughty because now I'm desiring prominence, but inshallah, it's prominence in the hereafter. Ya Rab, may we be among them, all of us listening and all of us here gathered together. So they had attained the title Al-Muttaqeen, and we are still in the process. And I'm asking now, what about those who are still in the process? That's a good question. What about those who are still in the process? Well, they are, inshallah, we are very special people. Now, by choosing taqwa versus udwan, we choose that in everything we do, from deeds to relationships, to provision, to sustenance, to utterances, what we say, what we don't say, and to our inner proddings, what our conscience tells us. When we choose the path of taqwa versus udwan, we grow our taqwa like a tree growing its branches. What does the Prophet, peace upon him, say? I just said what? I just said taqwa is in everything we do, didn't I? So for gentlemen especially, لا تتبع النظرة النظرة. As I said, there's awareness or aggression in everything we do related to what we have termed adab. So when you hear somebody talk about adab, they tell you the adab of this, the adab of that. The way I understand it, wallahu a'lam, it's this. It is taqwa. In everything there is adab, which means taqwa. So you choose the path of taqwa, that is the path of adab. We term it adab, and I think, wallahu a'lam, that the Quran has termed it taqwa. عن أبي ربيعة الأيادي عن أبيه, that he said, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to Ali, يا علي لا تتبع النظرة النظرة فإنما لك الأولى وليست لك الثانية. So this is especially for our young men, also us. I mean, honestly, I'll just give you an example in a moment. So when you are seeing something directly in front of you, just look at it. But when you make the choice, you saw it, right? You were not looking specifically, but you just saw it. And then you made the choice to look at it again. So that is the first nadra, إنما لك الأولى وليست لك الثانية. So the second nadra is not for you. Meaning what? It's not your right. Your right is the first because you just saw it without even looking. But the second one, when you are actually intending to look, that one is not your right. And here I'd like to say something also about how I was, the adab, which I was taught by my teachers. We'd be in somebody's home, and my teacher would tell us as soon as we enter, it's actually part of their teachings, if you find the curtain down, drawn, it's closed, never ever open it. And they're talking about windows here, meaning the window looking outdoors. Naturally, when you go into a house, let's say it's sunny outside and there's a garden, maybe there's a view, what you would do is you would just look at the view. You would just pull the curtain aside to look out. But our teachers taught us not to do that. And they said, maybe the curtain is down because the window was not cleaned. Maybe the window is down because the curtain is down because the window was not cleaned. And when you moved the curtain aside, you pulled it aside, you saw the dirty window. And that embarrassed the people in the house. The taqwa is not to do that. So we're trying to learn here what taqwa is. Do not follow one gaze with another. Because of what? Because of taqwa. It is adab. It is taqwa. So you take only what's offered to you. You don't reach out for more. This also applies to another hadith that the Prophet, peace upon him, said about somebody here. And he says, كانت يدي تطيش في الصحبة, that my hand تطيش. تطيش means that it means that when I used to reach out to eat, my fingers would go left and right all around the place. And the Prophet said to him, يا غلام سمي الله, oh child or young person, سمي الله, say Bismillah. وَكُلْ بِيَمِينِكَ, and use your right hand to eat. And then what he said, وَكُلْ مِمَّا يَلِيكَ. Kul mimma yalik. Eat of what is next to you, close to you. Yali means close or next to something. And I'm saying this word because it's very important. I'm going to actually speak about it in a moment. But what we gain here is adab of what? Adab al-ta'am. Adab al-ta'am. Don't reach over people to get something. You can ask them for it if it's far, but it's adab al-ta'am. So we're talking about the etiquettes, the adab of things, which we tend to think that much etiquette comes to us from foreign lands. But etiquette, adab, taqwa, I call it taqwa from now on, because this is what the Quran calls those things. We call it adab generally, but it's taqwa. Taqwa is in the Quran, and taqwa is in the hadith, and taqwa is in what we're supposed to do of our adab, ijtimaiya, our social adab. All that is taqwa. So here we took the word yalik. Kul mimma yalik, eat of what is close to you. Now, a beautiful finding, which we will all, our hearts will be warmed because of this finding in the Quran. If we are in the process, we are not yet min al-Muttaqeen. May we be, but we're not sure. We're not. Okay, let's say we are of alladhina taqa. We are still in the process. We can be awliyaullah. We can be awliyaullah. We can be of Allah's awliya, the close and near to Allah, inshallah, even if we remain of alladhina taqa. May we not, may we inshallah progress, but we can still be of awliya-illah. What does the lexicon tell us? The lexicon tells us the meaning of walaya. It indicates closeness. From that comes the word wali, which is proximate, somebody who is near to you. And they say he was distanced after being wali, meaning he was far and then he came close. That's the wali. And you say yalini, somebody who is yalini, meaning somebody who is next to me. Like the hadith, kulu mimma or kul mimma yalik, which is what's next to you. And from that comes the word mawla, which is the freedman. Freedman means somebody who was enslaved and was made free, and the one who frees that person. So in the olden days, when you'd hear in the seerah, fulan, mawla fulan, somebody is the mawla of that, it could be either that he's the one who gave him his freedom or he's the one who accepted the freedom from him. It's both. So usually wali is the companion, the ally, the protector, the cousin, the helper, the neighbor. All these are from wali, which is about closeness and kinship. And whoever is in charge of something is also its wali and its guardian, its protector and guardian. And if somebody says awla laka, it means you are more deserving of it. So here we have the wilaya, the guardianship, the closeness, a relationship, which is always what? Two-sided. You have both could be wali of each other. Mawla, I mean, one is the mawla, one is, or you could say the wali. So from our side, الذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون هم أولياء الله. Those who آمنوا, inshallah, we're of those who آمنوا, right? That is a given. يا أيها الذين آمنوا, the Quran speaks to us, so we are of الذين آمنوا, of course. And كانوا يتقون, it's also in the verb stage. يتقون, we are, inshallah, they are أولياء الله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Yunus, Surah 10, Ayah 64, ألا إن أولياء الله لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. They shall have no fear nor grief. الذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون. They are those who آمنوا, had attained faith and trust, and كانوا يتقون, and they were aware. That is beautiful. لهم البشرى في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة. They shall have the glad tidings in this life and in the next. So inshallah, everybody, let us consider ourselves today of الذين آمنوا inshallah وكانوا يتقون, and that we were inshallah doing the taqwa. But let's notice something here. كانوا يتقون is in the past continuous. It's in the past continue. It's not الذين آمنوا واتقوا, الذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون. It's like a continuous, past continuous. So that will give us the incentive, the push to be continuous in our taqwa, trying to attain taqwa. We would like to be constant in attaining taqwa, inshallah. So Allahu waliyul ladina amanu is in another ayah as well. What does he do as a wali? Like as a guardian, protector of alladina amanu. As our wali, Ya Rab, what does he do? He yukhrijuhum min al-dhulumati ila an-nur. He takes them out of the darknesses into the light. Isn't that beautiful? He is our wali. He takes us out of the darknesses into the light. Taqwa is embedded in how we were created and in why we were created. And we always mention this ayah, we always mention it, but we don't stress taqwa enough, okay? This ayah tells us how to be amiable, that we should be amiable to one another. We should acknowledge one another in life's shared journey. We should be what? Generous to one another. We should be forgiving of one another. All of that is in this ayah, but we don't notice it. What did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say in Surah Al-Hujurat 49:13? Oh, ya ayyuhan nas, oh, general, ayyuhan nas, everybody, all cognizant humans, all of you, we have indeed created you all from male and female and rendered you peoples and tribes so that's the reason. Li means so that, for reason of, that you may ta'arafu, acknowledge, recognize, and find comfort in each other. That's the meaning of arafa in Arabic. Acknowledge, recognize, find comfort. Those three meanings in the word arafa. That you might do that, find that in one another. Indeed, the most akram amongst you are those who are most aware. What's the meaning of akramakum? It does not just mean most generous as we know it, because that's the way we understand the word. Akramakum, we understand as the most generous. But when you look at the meaning in the lexicon, it tells us generous to the degree of forgiving a wrong against you. Because you cannot really be generous and most generous without forgiveness. Generosity is not just when you're giving. It's also what you are giving of yourself and of your forgiveness to others. That's the real generosity. That's the real generosity. So indeed, the most akram, the most forgivingly generous amongst you are those who are most aware. Now, this ayah, we always mention it when we talk about what? About people meeting people and how we should be with the, the rest of the world. But we don't focus on the part, akramakum indallahi atqakum, the most aware. So Ramadan is the best occasion to gain taqwa. Already by fasting, all our worldly appetites are curbed. What we seek from this world is curbed in Ramadan. We're not out there going out looking for the latest fashion. We're not out there going to get the latest, following whatever that has been advertised that we need to buy it today. We're not there. What else? We're not eating. We're not seeking also marital relationships or anything of that sort. What are we doing? We are curbing our worldly appetites. So that helps us be more watchful of ourselves, more forgiving of others. We should be more generous in every way. And we are more aware of our Creator, Jalla wa'ala, and of His message, the Quran. Ramadan, Shahrul Quran. And we are also aware of our messenger's character, and we should emulate him. But also, we are aware of what? We are aware of the effort which he did to bring it to us. We are thanking him. We are aware of the effort it took to bring this message to us. Not just him and his companions and all our predecessors. We thank every single person. We pray for every single person who made this possible for us. This, the Quran, how precious is this, that it has arrived right next to us. Alhamdulillah. So let us not miss this chance in Ramadan. So our talk today was about taqwa. We defined taqwa. We spoke about the common meaning, the exchanges of the early faithful, which they spoke amongst themselves. They did not think we would take it as definitions. I mean, I think they'd be very surprised to know that we took their words as the definition of taqwa, while the definition is in the Quran. And we learned that aggression and awareness can never meet. We gather awareness through our deeds, inshallah, through what we do. And what does awareness give us? It gives us Furqaan, discernment in the now. It gives us the takfir, the covering of our misdeeds. It gives us forgiveness for maghfirah. And awareness is one of Allah's signs, min ayatillah. Awareness is the basis for every endeavor. It is our most valuable provision. It is the garment, the highest garment, the topmost garment, which we should keep on so that we do not get anybody, we won't allow anyone to tear it off us. Anyone who wants to tear the garment of awareness off of us is a deviant, is a shaitan. Anyone who wants to tear away your taqwa is a shaitan. We will not allow that, inshallah. And what else? We realize today that even in the process of gaining taqwa, we are special. We are special. We are awliya Allah, inshallah, even if we are in the process of gaining taqwa. And taqwa is embedded in what Allah wants us to be, how we were created, why we were created. And we ask finally that may this Ramadan see us in that category, the category of Al-Muttaqeen. Ameen. May we tap into the blessings and luminescence of Ramadan. May we gain taqwa through our sincere worship. May the garment of taqwa shield us from our yearnings. May we grow in iman and taqwa and be accept us as awliya Allah. Ameen.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه والمؤمنون كل آمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله وقالوا سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين